to roll.
So have you seen the new Project Veritas video?
I have not, Jordan. And by the way, hello. Welcome.
Hello. Yeah.
Good evening. We've made it. Good to see you, brother. Brother man. Yes, yes.
Ah, good to see you too, man.
Yeah.
Your handsome face.
Aw, likewise. Even though you're so far away, I can almost touch you in there, but not quite.
Well, my hair's getting so long right now, man.
I don't know. Oh yeah, mine's tied back in. Look at that.
Mine's about getting to that. Yeah. I have it like tied up right now, but.
Oh yeah, oh, that's cool.
I think I'm gonna do Locks of Love. I'm kind of sick of it, to be honest.
You know, so I did them, I think 2 or 3 times over the years, but then I've heard a lot of people tell me like sketchy stuff about them. For some reason, they're like
about Locks of Love.
Yeah,
oh,
they're like, yeah, I know, right?
Come
like, really, there's nothing pure in this
Wait,
world.
what's sketchy? What are they doing with it?
Something. Look into it, I guess.
Something.
Yeah, I guess there's better options.
Like,
is what somebody told me for some reason. But there's always a reason to hate. But,
what are they like taking our DNA from our hair?
No, I think they were just somehow profiteering in a way that they shouldn't have been, or something. I don't know.
All right. Well,
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, they're like a hair donation.
I know, right? People get a little too up their own ass with that.
Sure.
Shit, so.
Skim off the top a little bit,
Yeah, I know, right? It's like they're
selling.
They're filling a niche already.
Keep the gravy train rolling a little bit. Like, somebody's got to have their wheels greased a little bit for something like that. You know?
I forgot what
like,
the big transgression was, or they were like hawking the donated hair and like giving the kids horse hair. So there's some horse shit. I don't like it. I don't know if that was it. I don't know if that was it. If that was it, that would be pretty fucked up. But yeah.
There's no way they're hawking our hair though, dude. We got luscious locks.
I know. So I grew mine.
Throw away my hair
down to my waist. I think 3 times. And I donated about 14 inches, cut it back to my base of my ears, and then donated it. But it's stopped growing in the last few years. It's just like kind of hit this mark since the last time, and it hasn't really.
Yeah, it's the 5G, dude.
Yeah, it is. Dude, they used to grow about an inch a month. I swear to God, throughout my 20s, it was about an inch a month. That shit grew like fucking weeds, which I loved.
Oh yeah, it definitely slows down.
Yeah, but now it's found this like
mine's
neutral
like
place. It's just
thinner.
It's just here now. So this is like my permanent length of hair.
You don't have to worry about it now.
I don't do anything.
You don't have to think about it.
No, yep, exactly.
Huh.
So that's
good.
kind
of a blessing, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for real. It's in its own right there. Yeah.
How was your Christmas? Did you do anything fun for Christmas?
Oh, jeez. I guess that's maybe a good place to start off the isolation, and I think we're all a little depressed conversation we were having before we got on this, because truth be told, almost didn't even make it onto this podcast because dude, the holidays were rough, man. Because this is the first holiday.
They were rough?
Well, it's the first
sucks.
holidays at my parents since they've moved away out of state. I've had them around my whole life. So that was always like my go-to, and we always did a small thing, just like my mom and stepdad and I. And so I always kind of had that. It was like, it wasn't a big family function, but it was enough to like have something to do, right? So this is the first season without even that, which kind of fucked with me. And just, I don't know. Didn't see anybody, honestly. My oldest brother, he's kind of on his own life tear at the moment and just kind of ignored me through the holidays because he's the only one who lives in the area. So I tried to see him and didn't pan out. His birthday,
which you would think like, hey, bro,
I know, I got him a present and everything.
Let's do something for Christmas.
Yeah. So
I could see how that would be a bummer. But to be honest, though, looking at it from my lens of like not having to do Christmas sounds pretty fucking sweet.
This is the things that keep me going.
when you all right, if any kids are listening, earmuffs, but once you turn into Santa, dude, a lot of fucking pressure, man. Like, you gotta get the kids to bed, you gotta wrap a couple dozen presents, you gotta just hope that you have enough wrapping paper,
Dude,
and it was close, dude. I had like a good couple feet left. Like, I nailed it, but still, you don't want to be that close. I was freaking out. Like, I had like 3 presents to go, and I'm like, fuck, dude, if I run out, what am I gonna do? There's no stores open Christmas Eve. That
dude, wrap it in other shit. Just put it in a bag. That's what I do. I just put it in a plastic bag and Here you go.
Just like a Fred Meyer bag.
Yeah, or exactly.
That's not very.
Or paper, or paper
Christmassy.
bag. Or what are the just wrap it in newspaper, the funny papers. That was what my neighbors always did. Everything would be wrapped up in like the comics or whatever.
Do you have newspapers? Nobody has newspapers anymore, dude. It's not 19 Dick.
Go down to the newspaper stand and
I
get
don't have a newspaper.
Go to the newspaper stand.
I got like
and
my
get
wife's like LL Bean magazine, like the shopping catalogs or something. I guess I could have done that, but just pick out the really nice pages. And it's a lot of pressure, is my point. So
yeah.
No, I
feel it.
That sucks. That you didn't get to spend it with family, but like
I mean, like I said,
kind of sweet for a year, you know.
I know. I think about that, like the classic, kind of American Horror Story with their families, and everyone. Like I think, it's like a dream to just do whatever you want on the holidays. Because I did go skateboarding. It wasn't all bad. It's not like I was sitting around crying in my tea or nothing. I mean, I went out and.
Was anybody else skateboarding? Did you have
no.
place to yourself?
Of course, yeah, just me.
So that's kind of rad.
Yeah, that's a weird feeling. A lot of times I'll admit, I'm like, why am I the only person in all the miles, of people around here doing things, and I'm the only one who thinks to do this today? Actually, it was weird. So I take that back. Right at it was like dark basically. This dude showed up in a big giant pickup truck with like 3 kids, and you can tell it was like their end of the day. Like, let's go do something real quick.
Yeah.
And they all jumped out, and
they just got the
scooters. Yeah, and the dad was even trying to skate and was running around, and I'm like, what a time to show. I was like just leaving, and I was like, well, all yours, guys, have fun. It's basically dark, but yeah. But that was the only people I saw all day.
Skating in the dark's not a good idea.
I do it a little bit, like half dark. If there's like some ambient like parking lot light or something, good enough,
Right. I don't know. That sounds like some black belt skating though.
Yeah.
I would need it lit up like a grocery store.
No, it is. I've had people that are like, dude, how are you skating in this light right now? You must have this like park down. But that's just the thing. Is the parks I skate them regularly, so I literally, I can and do skate them, kind of in with my eyes closed, so to speak. So, because a lot of it's just muscle memory. Like I know the contours and this and that, and I skate them when they're, I'd say 3/4 wet. I skate them in the rain. I skate them in iffy conditions. I skate them when they're icy. That's what it is. It adds to
when they're icy. What?
Yeah, when there's like patches.
Jeez,
what I mean? They'll be like those little like sporadic little patches of frost. You just gotta mark. They're kind of like landmines. You just gotta remember where they're at.
You just blast through them? What do you do?
Try to avoid them.
Just avoid
and
the
if you do
ice?
blast through them, just bend your knees and don't turn. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
That's black belt shit, dude.
It is, dude. I will say this actually.
White belt.
I should have died on Sunday because I was at Bellingham and there's like this big hip, and it's like a 6-foot bowl corner hip. Anyway, there's a lot of graffiti on the bowl, and moisture will like hide in the graffiti. And so it looks dry. Most of the park was dry, but there'll be certain types of paint that will keep like dewdrops of water, and you don't know until you're like basically like touching it, right? So anyway, I did this like big air in like a 6-foot bowl, thinking it was dry, and when I landed on this graffiti, my board just went like a banana peel, and somehow, dude, I like crouched it and ran it out, and was just like, oh, like deer in headlights. And then I went back and like touched the wall, and I was like, oh, that is fucking soaked. And I just went into it, blind, and I was like, dude, if I was an amateur, that would have just been a total just bug splat. You're fucked.
That's crazy you didn't beef it.
Dude, it was crazy as I felt my whole board, it's basically like driving on the ice and somehow gaining control of your car is what it felt like. Because I remember when I landed, all of a sudden I felt all 4 of my wheels just noodle, and I was like, what is this? This isn't what it should feel like. But then my reaction was just like surfed it out, and I got out of it, and I was able to run off my board, and I was just like, damn, that was some like ninja shit. Like for real.
You're supposed to steer into the skid. Right?
It was just instinctual because there's the initial shock, like, oh, this is happening, and then there's like, are you gonna react after that? Because most people just stay in the shock part, like, oh, and then they just beef it. But my mind took over and was like, no, do this, and I steered out of it. So it was one of those reminders, like, oh, I guess I got good muscle memory shit.
I bet it looked cool.
No one saw it. It was one of those things too. It wasn't for anybody but me, man. I know. And that's the other thing. I'm doing this shit just totally by myself. It's not even like for anyone. It's just like, risking my life and limb because I get my kicks that way. I don't know.
Because it's fun.
Most.
No, it's probably fun when you do something like that and you're like, oh fuck,
dude,
like,
it's exhilarating.
Get the heart racing.
It's exhilarating. I told you about that shit I did in Arizona. That thing I jumped into that 10-foot wall by myself into that ditch. I think I sent you the video of that.
The irrigation canal.
Yeah. I mean, that was like, oh my god, like probably one of the scariest things I've ever done in my life.
For me.
But the thing is, again, I was by myself. It was like sun was setting, nobody around for miles, and if I had eaten shit and broken my leg in the bottom of that ditch, I don't know how I would have. You know, it's one of those real gambles in life. If it had gone the other way, it would have
yell until
really
somebody hears you. Maybe.
Something. There was houses nearby. Yeah, I could have gotten attention, but it would have been bad, and I would have had to fly back broken, and it would have just been a whole ordeal. But the reward of jumping into that shit and riding away and knowing that didn't happen. Oh my, dude, I was ecstatic for like 3 days, just like. I can't believe I fucking did that shit.
Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting response. I don't think I'd have that. I think I would just be like bummed or I don't know. I don't think I'd
bummed.
I don't think my dopamine reward centers in my brain are wired like that, you know. I probably would have like broken all my shit and just died in that ditch, but
I mean maybe. You know. I mean, yeah, that is a possibility for sure.
Yeah. For sure. Anywho, so we got kittens for Magnus for Christmas.
Kittens?
We got him kittens, 2 kittens, and we already had a cat though. So now we have 3 cats, and the one cat is like older. He's like 3.5 years old, you know, so he's a grown-up cat. And so we get these 2 kittens, a boy and a girl, and the cat that we already have, his name's Dusty. He keeps trying to hump the girl cat.
Well, naturally.
She's like 6 or 7 weeks old. So he's a pedo, dude. He's a pedo cat.
He's a pedo cat.
He's neutered. So we're like, why is he doing this? You know?
Yeah.
And so I Googled it, and it does, you know. If you neuter him too late, he got neutered at like 6 months old, which I guess is too late. So it's like he can still, you know, have that drive or whatever. But I'm like, that kitten's like 6 weeks old, dude. What do you? My perception of him like instantly changed. You know, like he was just my cute little snuggly cat. You know, sleeps at the foot of my bed. You know, give him. Snuggles and scratch his cute little head, and now he's a fucking pedophile cat, dude.
Now he's an animal again, just a straight up animal.
Yeah, he's a predator, man. And I'm like, you're supposed to be this kitten's like protector, or you know, father figure. I know you didn't ask for that, but still, like, come on, man, step up to the plate. Don't try to screw the baby cat. You know, it's gross. He's only done it once, though. We got the spray bottle, so now we're just gonna like
you got the spray bottle.
Spray him if he tries to be a pedo again.
Oh man, yeah,
it's a bummer.
That's pretty funny. I'm digging up the while you're telling your cat story, my video clip of this that I took of my risking my life in Arizona. I figure it deserves a visual
so you do film these?
Like I said,
I was gonna say you should.
Yeah,
you should set up like a tripod or whatever.
Yeah, I just use my water bottle and I just lay my phone against my water bottle on the ground, and then I.
Well, that's pretty high tech.
Yeah, it works though. And then I just pulled a still from the video. You know, I just do a screenshot or whatever from the video. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll just give you an idea what this was, and you know what. Like I said, I'll admit there's just something about, you know, even in isolation, taking it, you know, yourself to these extremes to where it's actually even, I think it's more special when there's nobody around. You know what I mean? It's just you and the environment testing yourself in these ways, and the fact that it's kind of for nobody else makes it all the more special. You know, and a lot of like my skating over the years,
I can
like
see that.
Carnation and like kind of these really rural parks where nobody ever was. Like, yeah, they're like my dojos, man. Like, it's where I go not only to do like the skating, but it's really to go and like have a meditative experience.
Center yourself.
Yeah. But there's something about, you know, being in the risk of physical harm into artist skating, but like surviving it like leaves you with this sense of like self-assurance, like, hey, like even tonight, for instance, in my bummed out state, I went and skated, and there was at the beginning moment of it, I was kind of feeling a little sloppy and had the reality check, like, dude, you could get hurt. And I went from like that feeling of like, like, fuck it, fuck life, I don't give a fuck what happens, fuck all this shit, to suddenly I'm preserving myself, and it reminds you that, oh yeah, self-preservation is a beautiful thing, and you actually don't want yourself to get hurt. That would suck. Like, be mindful and have a good time instead of breaking your leg. And I started thinking about that. Like, if I roll my ankle and can't skate, that'd be fucked. I don't want that. But it's nice that it transitions me from when I'm like isolated and alone at home thinking, fuck the world, to suddenly like, oh, there's something to protect and look after and to cherish.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty good distraction to get you out of a funk or whatever. And,
it really is.
Get that dopamine hit. Yeah. Have you ever sprained your ankle pretty bad doing it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my 2 front teeth are fake. I knocked these out skating years ago.
Did not know that about you.
That? Yeah, these are totally fake. Porcelain. I got a potty mouth, so I can swear all I want. I earned it.
There you go.
Some toilet.
That's a good dad joke.
Yeah, that's true. It's the porcelain is what they made these teeth out of. Same shit that's in your toilet.
Ivan just got fake teeth crowns. Like his front teeth are fake. And,
what happened to that?
We just had that done like a couple weeks ago.
Oh no, what happened?
It was so expensive. It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
they don't cover that shit on insurance. So like, it's.
These babies were like
or something.
$4,000 for these, because they had to do root canals too.
Yeah, it's no joke, man.
So it was like $2,000 a tooth. Yeah, it was not cheap.
It's ridiculously expensive.
It really is. It's dumb.
Like way more expensive than it should be. And I mean, when did you have those done though? When you were a kid, or
no? This was when I was like late 20s, I want to say.
Okay.
What was crazy though is, so I knocked my teeth out on an edge like this. It's kind of square. Like I bashed the edge of the metal, and so I split my teeth. And I actually picked the fragments up off the ground and brought them in my pocket to the dentist. Just kind of, I'm like, I don't know. I have these 2 pieces of teeth, and I was like, hey, do you think you can do anything with these? He's like, nah, that's fucking ridiculous. And he's like, wait a minute, let me see those. And since basically it was like 3/4 of my teeth broke, and there were still 2 pieces of my chunks of my teeth left in the gums, which he said was good. Yeah. And so he was like, oh, wait a minute. And so he took the pieces, and he's like, wow, it broke so clean. He's like, you know what? I'm going to glue those on. And then so these fake teeth are molds based on what my actual teeth look like, which he was stoked on, because he was like, otherwise we would have just had to guess based on the empty space in your mouth, and they would look fake. They'd look very square and fake. But so he actually glued the fragments of my old teeth back on for a month, and there's like a glue line across them. But then he made these molds off of that, and then he filed my old teeth down in these like little Lego pegs, and then he popped these new teeth over the top of them. And he was saying that was way
like the mad scientist.
Yeah, and he said like, dude, you got lucky. Otherwise, if there wasn't that extra teeth in there, they would have had to drill metal rods into my gums, which would have taken like a year to accept, and I would have had to add like headgear and shit, and then they would have put like prosthetic teeth that were removable on those rods type shit. It would have been. He said that would have been fucked. But he was like, dude, he's
sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, he's like, you had just enough teeth left. And he's like, the fact you brought those fragments in, he's like, you basically got as close to your original teeth back as you could have hoped for. And I was like, yeah, damn. Like,
it's no joke. Like if you get teeth replaced and they don't line up right, like you can get really bad headaches.
That's what I'm saying, because the dentist is guessing on the gap that's there, and that's what they make the new teeth on. Yeah. But since my old teeth were actually there for them to just make the molds off, he was like, dude, it was like a straight up just swap. Your old
That's
teeth
hilarious.
Yeah.
Good thing you picked up. I was about to make fun of you for like
Same.
taking
He was even like, what?
Because well, you remember like JFK's wife?
Yeah,
she, like,
picking up
a piece of his brain and like
it was
took it into the hospital.
Well, when we were at the skate park,
do you guys need this?
Yeah, my buddy pointed it out. Like we were at the skate park, and I was like, dude, like what's up with my mouth? It's bloody. And he was like, oh, dude, your teeth. And I was like, what? And he like points, like, oh, they're right there on the ground. And I remember just looking down at panic. I saw him there, like literally just 2 white teeth on the ground. I was like, boop, boop, and just threw them in my pocket. I was like, why not?
Better take those.
Even if they're just gonna be a souvenir, you know what I mean? I was like, fuck it, I'll at least like throw them in a jar or something.
Souvenir.
Yeah, tooth fairy shit.
That's hilarious that you thought about like taking them with you. That's funny. Anyways, all right, what episode are we on? What is this, 9er?
I don't even know. I will say I've been very bad at getting the other ones edited, which I will get. I'm gonna go on a spree here, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on a spree. And I'm gonna edit the shit out of a bunch of them. So get ready, listeners. You're gonna get like 10 new episodes.
Whatever. We're still revving the engine of this. I think.
Oh yeah.
You know.
So as promised, here's hold on my clip. That took so long. I had to get it from another computer. Sorry.
Before we talk about mushrooms.
Sorry, you can hear it. I don't ruin the surprise. All right, sorry. I'm gonna share my screen here.
I could hear it, but I can't see it.
I know that. I know, Jordan.
Do I click share screen?
No, I'm doing it. I got you. All right, you ready?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sharing screen. All right, you can see it now, right?
Oh yeah, it looks like irrigation.
All right. Yeah, so it is. That's exactly what it is. It's an irrigation canal in Arizona, and you see the cactuses back there. Yeah, and so this is like basically, and videos always make shit look a little smaller, but this is a 10-foot wall. It's about 3 feet on me or a little more. I'm not 7 feet tall, but you know what I mean. It's taller than me. And the angle on the ground is about 90 degrees coming in. It's a straight up like 90 degree. And the ground is super rocky and shit. So basically what I did was, this thing is like a mile long. At first I skated down it and just like rode the walls and surfed it like a wave, which was badass. But then I came down to this big corner and it like jetted up to this giant wall, and I'm like, oh shit. So on the top of the wall is actually only like a 1 foot wide space, and then there's dirt. So up there, what I'm rolling across is like 1 foot wide. That's the other part that's hard about it. There's like not a lot of space up there to ride a skateboard. So,
if you fell into it.
Yeah, exactly.
No
so
bueno.
the first thing I did was I just rolled off the wall and rolled straight down and tested it out. I was like, oh shit, I was like, and so basically the trick I wanted to do, and I literally stood up there going back and forth for over an hour, like in this intense mental head game of like, I know I can do this, but there's one try here. Yeah. Oh yeah. It was intense. It was like, if I don't do it just the way I know I need to do it, I'm basically going to get crippled in the bottom of this ditch. And you could see it like standing on the edge of this wall is like, I'm going to jump into this with a skateboard. Cause that's what I'm going to do. It's called a boneless, where basically I take 1 foot and I jump and I get an extra 2 feet in the air, and then I land on the wall and come in. Right. So I'm coming in it with
called a what?
A boneless. It's an old school.
I thought you said boner.
Boneless, close enough. It's basically where you take a foot, 1 foot off your board, and you scrape it on the ground, and you jump. And it's an old school like vert trick that I'm pretty good at. But you can do them into things. Yeah. It's kind of like a cheating of the ollie in a way. But the point is it adds like an extra bit of air going into this already like 10-foot wall of death, right? So I knew in my mind, like, there's no wiggle room. Once you jump, it's full commitment. There's no like half-assing it. Like even like bailing from it would be ugly. So in my head, I knew it was like, you got to just stick it. And so I kept rolling up to it, and it was just like, dude. But then I thought about like, fuck it, just walk away. It's not worth it. But dude, then the feeling of like not doing it was so bad. I was like, God damn it, I'm going to be all like tripping.
Yeah, you don't want to bitch out.
Like, yeah, like what would have been like to have done this? I'm like, fuck it. And I remember that feeling of when I finally allowed myself to do it, and just like that instinct taking over, and like that kind of like zone where you don't even really know what's happening, and then you come bursting out of it. Well, here it is, man. This is where skating takes you.
Man, that's crazy.
Whoa, man. A little kickflip at the end. Dude, I was like freaking out, dude. One and only try, dude. So one try. But here it is. I'll show the still.
Glad you didn't die.
I know, right?
Break your leg or something.
Here's the moment of death.
I mean, you jumped.
Yeah, you jumped into it. And like I said, this shit is steep. It's like, the video doesn't really do it justice.
Yeah, it's almost.
And so when I hit here, like, I remember the thought in my head was just like, hold it. I remember when I touched down, I was like, oh my God, just hold it. And then the coming down here, it's a 90. See, I had to lift off to make it down that 90-degree chunk.
Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah, I had to be smart and time that.
Skill.
Because if I had gone straight down, I would have just nosedived and plummeted. That's what I was worried about.
Yeah,
just a straight nosedive. But I lifted up just in time to clunk out, and then
it's crazy that you can transfer your momentum like that,
dude.
Like,
all in a blink of a
all of your
fucking
momentum
eye.
is going straight down.
All in a split second, just like. Anyway.
Yeah.
So good shit, man. Yeah, that's what skating gets me. And
That's
I'll admit,
fun.
dude, that's enough to erase depression and anxiety for, at least a day, or more. Yeah.
Right.
But
Right.
that's typically what I get out of it. But like I said, I was the only one there. I filmed that myself. Sun was setting, pressure was on. I was like, who is this this was for me and the universe. And then, yeah, it's good shit, man.
Well, now me and anybody that just watched it. So I think it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was first exposure.
I'm
so
glad
there
you
go.
didn't. Glad you didn't bust your porcelain teeth, dude.
Dude, and I was gonna say, I remember when I
$4,000
when I was up there and I kept having all those scenarios were playing out in my head before I did it. Like, dude, what
Right.
happens if you roll your ankle and you gotta fly back to Washington and drive and all this shit with a broken this and that, and then I know, and I was going through all. Is it worth it for this one fucking thing? And then I was like, but I know I can do it. That was the whole thing. It's like I know if it was all commitment. It was like the physics made sense. I
Yeah.
could see it in my head, but it was like there is a lot of risk here,
I
but
don't
there's a way through the risk if I just stick to it.
I wouldn't have done it.
And believe.
There's no fucking way I would have done that.
Dude, I almost
Think about
didn't.
me trying to convert that momentum of going straight down into
So it wants to take
straight
you to
across.
just blap.
There's no way.
Blap is what it
I
wants
would've
you to
destroyed
do.
that
Just
board.
Boom. And if I'd fallen 10 feet to just whap, I mean, that could have been my head.
Yeah.
I mean, it could
you
be
could have been-
death to the wrong
Could have
person.
been a picture app on all day in.
Dude, it really could be.
Could have been Dunzo.
But it's cool fucking with shit like that. When you're
Yeah.
like, you know what, I know that this packs that
I
potential,
guess.
but here I am on the other side, dude. Hey, it's 25 years of skating got me to that point.
You know a good way to not die in a ditch with a smashed cranium? You know it's a good way to not do that?
Not jumping.
Is you
in this river.
don't skate down
Yeah.
crazy irrigation canals.
That's true.
And that's kind of my philosophy.
That's
you
true.
know?
That's
Like,
funny.
do I want to die in a ditch in Arizona? Probably not. So
It was worth
wanna
it to
do
me.
that,
It was worth it. I know. I think about that. Like, what happens if the worst had played
see,
out?
but you have the
know?
mentality like that of like, I'm just gonna do it and I don't want to bitch out or whatever. I don't. And the whole time I would be telling myself like, you're gonna fucking die.
There was
so
some
I
of
probably
that.
would.
There was
I'd
some of
manifest
that.
it.
There was
I
a
would
couple
probably
attempts
beef it.
where I rolled up and I was like about to
know?
do it, and then there was like that. Yeah, I had to. My self-preservation was too loud. It was like no, and I was like,
Oh, okay, but is that your self-preservation or is that intuition and that attempt would have gone awry and it was your future scenario, you kind of sensed it and that made you stop? You ever think about that?
I think
think
yeah.
about that?
That's what I'm saying. Dude, the thing, like I said, I
I think about that all the time.
I committed one and only time. That's one of those tricks. That's it. There was no test attempts. There was no second attempts. That was it. That's what's so special about it. The one and only time I jumped off that ledge was that. And I may never do that again. I don't think I ever will, frankly. I mean, that was such a mind fuck.
Well, yeah, you got it. You can
Yeah, the fact I got it on
so,
camera and
yeah.
I'm like, that's good. I'll watch that when I'm 80 and I'll be like, damn.
Yeah.
Just like,
So that works though. Skating kind of gets you out of the funk.
I will say, frankly, it boils down. Oftentimes in my life, it is the thing. It's like what I'm left with. I don't know if you've ever had one of those things where it's like it's the one thing that is kind of there for you. When everything is stripped away, you got this one kind of simple, pure thing like that is able to like resurrect you. Skating for me has always been that. No matter how fucking shitty my life is, how much I've been run over by a truck emotionally, I can go skating and I come out the other side somewhat intact. It's weird. It's definitely very therapeutic.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what gets me out of a funk. Like what if I'm feeling that? Because we were talking a little bit about like before we hopped on here of the existential dread and being in a funk or whatever. Like what breaks me out of that, And I guess it's like blowjobs, that'll do it.
Yeah.
That's probably number one, right? But that's probably everybody's number one.
Wait, self-inflicted blowjobs?
No, of course not. Come on, look at me.
I don't know. Maybe you figured it out. I don't know. Maybe there's some technique I never learned.
Yeah, that should be curriculum, dude. Nobody would be depressed.
I know, right?
Fucking, yeah. Big Pharma would go out of business. But fishing,
Yeah.
I don't know. Mm-hmm. What I think works for me is not looking at like
music?
Twitter, because typically that shit is like the source of I'll see something like scary on Twitter and I'll go down a rabbit hole, and I'm just like, fuck, the world's so fucked, Like the one the other day was magnetic pole shifts. You know, and I'm looking at this like, oh, impending apocalypse, you know, like the poles are going to shift and, you know, we're going to be blasted back to the Stone Age. And then I'm looking at like videos on YouTube and, you know, just going down the whole rabbit hole, getting all like immersed in it, you know, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? You know, this is only like making me have more anxiety. I'm not going to fucking do anything about it. Like, I'm not going to build a bunker, you know? So what, you know, if it happens, whatever.
And lately too, I'll admit, I've really been getting kind of taken with the idea of, I mean, frankly, as far as you and I are concerned, what can we verify that this shit just literally doesn't just stop at the video? If that, you know, that makes sense. Like, how do we know that any of the shit that's on the screen in the videos or whatever is even actually out there in the world? You know what I mean? A lot of these, you know what I mean? I don't know. Just, like I said, the stuff that is in these fucking videos about this or that or whatever, people describing these.
Yeah, is it real?
Right, on any level. Or is it just, again, purely reading like a work of fantasy?
Yeah, I'm just reading what somebody else is talking about it.
That's
what
I'm saying. Like, but the point is we have no way to verify.
Whatever, scientists are saying it, you know, and I'm like, well, they did say, like, it's happened before, and they kind of see, like, a periodicity to it. And I'm like, well, if it's happened before, then, like, shouldn't we know kind of the effects of it? And that was the main thing, is that I was trying to figure out, like, what would happen if the magnetic pole shift happened. There was one video that went really far, like, the fucking world's gonna stop spinning for 10 minutes or some shit. And if that's the case, like, we're all fucked. We're all dead, you know? But there's nothing conclude. They're like, we don't know, you know? Like, it could be really bad, whatever. I'm like, if it was really bad, though, I feel like we'd have more geological evidence of it, you know? So, I don't know. But, you know, and then there was a guy talking about, like, oh, the elites know about it and they don't want people, it's a cover up, like, they don't want people to know about it because they want, you know, for when it does happen to wipe out like 90% of the population or whatever. I'm like, fuck, that kind of makes sense.
You know, and like I said, and when people present these theories, how do you not know? Again, they're not just writing it like anyone would write a work of fiction of like, oh, I'm just putting this out there on the internet as a story.
One of them definitely was.
And people are going to just take it however they want. But I think it's weird we have this kind of modern phenomenon that when people see something, oh, it made, you know, somebody produced this and put it on YouTube. It's got to be, you know, on the up and up or whatever. Legit? Yeah, I think, but in reality, there's no way for any of us as viewers to really know even like the incentive or the intention behind making these things. Like, that's what I'm saying. You don't really know what's in the mind of the creator unless you're that person. And to them, it could be a joke. It could be a poetic play in society. It could be this. It could be that. It could be boredom. They could just be like, fuck it, I got editing software.
It could be selling doom, you know? Like
that's what I'm saying. Or like I said, it could just be somebody just
old playbook.
Fucking, you know? Exactly, alone and bored in their basement and wants to interact in the world, and they figure I got some good editing techniques and whatever and some crazy theories. Let's make a video and put it out there.
Yeah.
Right? But and same thing, even if it's produced well enough to be on, say, like PBS, where there's probably a good tie into the documentary we watched, that alien story they did or whatever about you know, alien contact. And it, you know, it was kind of going between like this fictional narrative and then like actual documentary. It was interesting how they presented that. You know, they used a fictional narrative basically in tandem with a documentary, which I thought was an interesting approach to that presentation. So you could kind of see like
it was
the dramatic, you know, narrative they were trying to push with the fictional side, tie it in with the realistic, you know, what we know and
we
what
should say what it was called. What was it called?
Wasn't it called an alien encounter or something like that? It's still available to watch right now. You can stream it. It's like I think it was just called an alien encounter, I think is what it was called. But
First Contact.
First Contact. Yeah.
Yeah, First Contact, an alien encounter. Yeah. So the description is, many scientists believe there's a genuine possibility that the first evidence of extraterrestrial life may be detected soon. I would agree with that. This is the story of an encounter with an alien object traveling through the solar system over the course of 12 days.
That's right.
So what they did, they had this like a mockumentary kind of, then they spliced it with
a real event. I don't remember that event. Do you? Because they said it just
The
happened.
Oumuamua?
Yeah, that thing that was flying by in space, that big object.
Yeah.
I don't remember them at the time talking about that. That was only like in what, 2015 or something that happened.
I think it was more recent than
I think
that.
it was even more recent. Yeah, but when they were talking about that, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't remember anyone talking about that. Yeah, it was apparently some strange mile-long object just tumbling through space, and they don't know what or where it came from. Right? Did they ever figure it out?
Well, they know it can't. They know that it was from outside our solar system.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what made it interesting is that it was going really fast, so they could calculate, all right, this isn't from our solar system, it's interstellar. And it went past the sun, and then it sped up. Like, it went faster, right?
Right.
So that's interesting, because how could it speed up, right? The theories were like, oh, the sun rays hit it, it had ice or whatever, vaporized the ice, you have a little gaseous expansion, a burst, right? And that would propel it, But there's this guy from Harvard, Dr. Avi Loeb, who's like, maybe it's a relic, maybe it's like a probe, maybe some other civilization sent it and they're scoping us out, So this documentary, movie, I don't know what you would call it. I guess, documentary, whatever, mockumentary.
Yeah.
It really explores, like, if this were to happen, here's what it would look like,
Right, and here's this things that are already occurred that are basically kind of similar, I guess, or almost maybe the prelude. I guess they were kind of pitching it. Things that are happening already might be a prelude to this next phase of contact, if you will. Because that's what it kind of seemed like to
James
me.
Webb telescope. Like, hey, this telescope's so badass. Like, we would be able to actually zoom in on a specific solar system and kind of see what's going on there. I think that's going to happen eventually, and depending on how tinfoil hatty you are, like, I think they already know kind of where to look, but they're not really pointing the telescope in those directions yet. I think that they'll probably come a time soon when the narrative or whatever, everything the agenda will line up to where it's like they'll point it to where they already know to find something, and then they will. That's what I think.
Well, and I think the other thing too that goes unspoken of a lot is a lot of this is about what's coming from out there in outer space. Frankly, I think a lot of the alien shit is interdimensional, and it's probably occurring, like in the bellies of like mountains and shit, and places on Earth.
Cryptoterrestrials, bro.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm just saying there's probably, places on Earth that they come in and out of and inhabit. Because think about how much of Earth is manned, if you will. There just isn't people around, and they can easily
not currently habited.
Yeah,
Antarctica,
craters, burrowed in the mountains.
Shit.
Some say they see crafts popping out from under the ocean and shit like that. So
Mount Rainier, dude.
Right.
Mount Rainier was like the first the Kenneth Arnold sighting back in the 40s. That was like
it
first
was
flying saucer
Mount Adams.
thing.
Mount Adams. Mount Adams is the first
Oh,
sighting.
I thought it was Mount Rainier.
Mount Adams in southern Washington.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. By
near Mount Rainier.
So Mount Adams
Mount
is
Rainier.
Yeah, Mount Adams is where the first official U.S. Logged report of a sighting was in Mount Adams, and they have that SETI ranch down there.
Yeah.
The Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence is based down in it's in White Salmon, but apparently Mount Adams has been one of the biggest sightings for the last 50, 60 years. People can almost go down there regularly and watch shit happen in the skies. In fact, there's this whole ranch. I saw a documentary on it, and the guy has like crystal skulls and shit. But anyway, he has like groups of people come down, and like every weekend they go out and watch fucking shit flying around in the skies, and it's like a resort for UFO watching, here in southern Washington.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting area, and
that's dope.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen shit.
I want to see UFO
so
bad.
In the last year, I've seen some crazy shit with
you've seen
with people,
bunch,
dude.
Jelly.
Here's a good one. Actually, this was like 2 years ago. I was on a first date with this girl, and she saw this was a verified, maybe 2-3 minute long sighting. That was it was fucking wild. It's still wild, like when I think back on it. So we were in my backyard. I was cooking this girl salmon for dinner. We were in my backyard smoking. And this was in the suburbs of Bellevue. And then on the horizon, we're like, fuck, what is that? And it was this long string of like maybe like 10 lights, and don't say it was fucking, what's it called, Elon Musk shit or whatever.
Oh, Starlink.
But this was shorter. It was like this little
Starlink.
string of like 10 dots, you know, oscillating like a snake across the horizon. And you know,
Starlink doesn't do that. Starlink is like, it'll go across the sky, but it doesn't undulate.
Like
this
was like, you know? This was like, you know, had like a snake crawl pattern.
Like a snake, undulating.
Yeah, it did. And it went slow, and it also like made a trajectory in the sky that was not like straight. It like went up and then came down, and then it also got closer. And me and this girl like sat in my backyard for like 10 minutes, just like, holy fuck,
Weird.
like this is fucking full on unidentified, right? And just, you know, it's just like, what the fuck do you make of that shit? And I still to this day, like, I don't know. And then we watched it just slowly, like it kind of floated like a bubble off onto the horizon until it just slowly just disappeared. And we're just like, huh.
Did it seem like really far away, or was it kind of close?
No, it seemed close. And like I said, I felt at times at one point when it got on a certain level of closeness, you could see kind of the shadow of the thing the lights were on. You know, you could kind of see the bigger, you know, whatever it was.
Oh, so you think it was all one
thing? Yeah, it looked like they were kind of like, it was like lights on
lights.
Like on a billboard or something, or, you know, like lights going across a display or something. Yeah. But it was like a big...
Whoa, that's so strange.
It was. And like I said, and I was watching it with somebody else.
I don't get, like, if you have this... Yeah, if you have this craft that's, like, capable of, I don't know, defying gravity and shit, like, why do you need lights on it? You know? Isn't that weird? What do you know,
right.
a spotlight? Like, what do you need a spotlight for if you got this crazy technology that you can, like, you know, fly across the galaxy?
Because I think, again, in a lot of ways, our interaction, you know, like what Terrence McKenna wrote about, the UFO is really us presenting ourselves as the other. And I think in some way, the interaction with the other is an evolutionary tactic, I think, that we're using on ourselves, frankly. And I told you about that in our last podcast where I had that mushroom trip in the forest where I felt like I could hear walking around in the ship, and I felt myself waking up in my like room on this ship, and it felt like I had this memory of like, oh shit, like we're the ones up there, and the ship beaming ourselves down in this Earth experience, and we give ourselves
that's a cool theory.
Little fucking clues along the way. That. Yeah, and basically it's a VR, and again, total fucking recall.
Or it's the mods.
It's just total recall. It's just total recall. They already nailed it. Like I still go to this total recall.
To PKD.
It did. It nailed reality, dude. I mean, the way he like signed up to go on the vacation, and then that it was so real he forgot he was in the simulation. That's it. I mean, that's what it is. And we did this to ourselves. And then even within that movie, you know, he gives himself clues in the simulation to remind himself, hey, it's just a simulation. But he keeps like blowing it all like, oh no,
just shooting it in the face.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, dude, I'm telling you. And it's like how you get our clues. Like when we see a UFO, it's like ourself up there going, hey, bloop, 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 bloop. Just remind you down there, you know, we're doing this together. You signed up for this, bud. You'll wake up after it's over, you know. I don't know. I like to think.
I want to see one, man. I want to do one of those like CE5s or whatever. You know,
dude,
like the little meditation thing. Who's that guy? Dr. Stephen Greer?
Yeah, the green guy or whatever. Yeah. Speaking of which, there's an opportunity. I got an email thing. They're doing this thing, Contact in the Desert again. And it's like this big, they're calling it like the Woodstock of UFO things. It's like a festival. It's outside. It's in California somewhere. If you want to go, dude, it's in like September. They're selling early bird tickets for it now. But yeah, it's like all these like panelists and speakers and music and just UFO shit. I know, it looks fucking wonk, dude. Oh my God, I almost want to go there just for the people watching, dude. You know what I mean? Just to see.
It'd be fun as fuck, dude. It'd be great. I'd love to go see, you know, like Linda Moulton Howe always like talks at those, and that Ancient Aliens guy with the crazy hair.
Oh yeah, they're all there, man.
Giorgio Tsoukalos or whatever.
Giorgio Tsoukalos.
It'd be fun.
That fucker, man. Yeah, they're all there.
I'd like to go to one of those.
Check it out. I think I have the email.
I'm sure there's a lot of grifters. It seems like, because you know, I follow a lot of like UFO accounts on Twitter, and it's just like, it's so convoluted, dude. There's all these different sects of like people that believe more of a woo-woo spiritual aspect of it, and then there's people that are like straight up, you know, nuts and bolts. It's just aliens using advanced technology, you know, and there's like people that think it's interdimensional, you know, like there's all these different areas within this one community. But what I've noticed is that like none of them really study about anything else. You know, like they're so obsessed with UFOs and aliens that that's all they focus on. They know everything about like Roswell. They know everything about like the Holloman Air Force Base encounter, you know, and all this shit. But they don't know anything about like the JFK assassination,
right,
or MK Ultra and shit. And it's like, wouldn't you also be curious in these other conspiracy theories or government cover up? Like you're saying that government covered up UFOs, but like,
look who's right on the front.
Why don't you? That's a pretty there she is, dude. Linda Moulton Howe.
George Norrie, Nick Pope, that fucker.
George Norrie, dude. Yeah. Avi Loeb. Wait, go back. Avi Loeb.
So here's this. Here they are. Linda Howe. This is the lineup.
Oh, this is the whole lineup.
This is the lineup.
Yeah. So Avi Loeb, that guy right there. He started. I think it's called Project Galileo.
Yeah.
For a new way to try to detect UFOs or whatever. But he's the guy that he was like a Harvard professor or something. And he's the guy that was saying Oumuamua might have been extraterrestrial in nature. Wait, go back up. Let me see. I want to see who else is on there.
Who's this? Clyde.
Carolyn Corey. Oh wow! Look at that Patriot. Jeez, that's a rough picture. It's a
lineup though.
You need a better picture, bro.
But yeah, look at that. So it's a venue. Where
Motley
is it?
Crue
people.
Yeah.
Indian Wells.
Like $200.
Yeah,
huh?
right. June. Oh, it's in June. Okay, never mind. Sooner than I thought. Contact in the Desert. $800.
Yeah, come on. Dude.
Sorry, General.
All right, the bare bones.
Sorry, $255.
GA.
Yeah. What is a galactic? Oh, the Interstellar Pass. 11 hundo, dude. You gotta be a chump.
Yeah,
There's a sucker born every
picture with George Norrie.
Yeah. Oh, here's what you get for the Interstellar.
Good Lord.
Oh man, that's funny. And much more.
And then like. The people on Twitter, they're
films
all
under the stars.
Like, why don't people take us seriously? It's like because you're full of fucking grifters, dude.
I know, right?
You're charging $1,000.
Oh look, you get a George
conference?
Norrie luncheon. All right.
What the fuck is that, dude?
You get to go to
like
lunch with
peanut butter and jelly sandwiches shaped like
right in a room
probably.
with like hundreds of other people while he's somewhere in there. You know, like. Oh, but you had lunch with him.
So
like,
awful.
Yeah, but they make it seem like you're gonna sit down one-on-one with the guy. Like, no. But yeah, I guess there's no music. Oh, special events. Let's see. This is funny. Sorry, Contact. I swear. Actually, we are making fun of you, but you know, we wish you well at the same time. Giant Rock tour. Look at this.
20. Oh shit! There's a Giant Rock.
$25 to go stand.
Look at the Giant Rock. Wow! Look at them holding hands around it.
Dude, there's a sucker board every minute, dude. Oh, there's a big rock. Everyone
spend intimate time and meditation.
Give us $25 to come
with a giant rock.
Come stand at this giant rock. Boy, they really figured it out.
The guy who invented the pet rock is rolling over in his grave.
Oh, man. Oh, dude,
he's like, I at least glued googly eyes to mine.
You got to pay him $5 to look at the night sky. Look at this. Searching the skies.
A night vision goggles experience.
Oh, sorry. You get night vision goggles. Oh boy.
Yeah, these night vision goggles.
Hey, if you're gonna tilt your head up at those stars, that's gonna cost you. No looking up without paying the man. Like,
yeah.
Those stars ain't free, dude. Like, okay.
Who was the Simpsons lawyer? What was his name again?
Lionel Hutz.
Lionel Hutz. I can just see him like,
I'm Lionel
look at the sky, but with goggles.
Yeah, right.
Still got it, Lionel. Still got it.
I remember we had those smoking monkeys. Look, it's gonna take another puff.
Yeah.
It's like if you get my services, you get a free smoking monkey.
Yeah. Were you searching in my trash?
Like, yeah, when
he paying $5 to go away.
Yeah. When he babysat the kids.
Yeah, that's tough, man. That is a tough look. I mean,
you want to go?
Good on that. We should just. I want to make my own, man. Let's make our own fucking.
I was gonna say, yeah. You want to go look up at the sky for free? You want to go? Want to go stand by a rock with me for free, Jordan? I won't charge you $25 to stand next to a rock. With me.
Dude, the Scablands are a couple hours away, man. There's plenty of erratics, giant boulders that we could charge people to stand around and meditate.
Hell yeah. Oh man.
New startup business venture. Come meditate at the Giant Rocks. So, all right, you want to talk about mushrooms now?
Yeah, this would be a good time for a little. I'll let you wind it up here while you kick it off. I'll put on some background music. I'm gonna fire up this here doobie and.
Too loud. Keep it down.
Oh, okay, I'll keep it down. Right.
Give it like a 2.
There we go. Okay. Hold on. All right.
That's good.
Yeah, I'll bring it back when there's not lyrics.
Okay. So, for this episode, I read the book called The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross by John Marco Allegro. Dan, this is the worst book I've ever read.
Oh.
It is
the word
dog shit.
Dog shit.
It was so bad. Like, I can't even properly I don't have the words to describe how awful this book was. I didn't finish it.
Oh, well,
okay.
come
first
up
time it's the first time I've ever tapped out for reading a book for this podcast.
Really?
Couldn't make it. I got about 70% of the way through, and I was like, this isn't getting better. Like, for, you know, I think it's like maybe a 14 hours book, something like that, you know.
What does that mean?
And for a solid like 3 hours, I was like, well, maybe it'll get better. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe it'll make more sense. And it just never did. It never got better. But we got to give it its the due diligence and kind of explain this guy's theory. So John Marco Allegro was a archaeologist, theologian, scholar, right? He was one of the guys that helped decipher the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? Do you know what the Dead Sea Scrolls were?
Yep.
They were like old biblical texts that they found in a cave. I forget what kind, you know, it was Mediterranean Sea, whatever. They found them in like clay jars, written on, you know, like animal skin parchment or whatever. They're legit. It's not like a conspiracy theory or anything. And he was one of the scholars that helped decipher these, right? So he knows this shit about like ancient religion and all that. I don't think he was a Christian. I think he was agnostic, you know? But he writes this book called The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross. And his thesis is that Jesus never existed, okay? Ooh. And it's all just like a misunderstanding based on these ancient Sumerian fertility cults that would eat mushrooms, okay? So like the magic mushroom is the sacrament or whatever. And, oh, that's bad.
My bad.
Yikes.
I was just
they would eat these mushrooms, you know, and trip out and like meet God, you know, so that was like their sacrament or whatever.
Right.
And essentially his whole theory for how he concludes this is based on etymology, right? The study of words and how words come to be, right?
Yep.
So the word Christ in this ancient Sumerian fertility cult meant like magic mushroom, right? And he introduces this theory, you know, relatively soon, early in the book, right? And right when he does, I'm like, so, you know, you're basing this word off of a Sumerian word, and I'm like, the early transcripts of the Bible were written in Semitic languages. Sumerian is thousands of years older than that and separated by hundreds of miles. You're talking about Mesopotamia, like modern day Iran and Iraq, right? Mm-hmm. And there's no frickin' way that any words from that language directly, you know, became words in Semitic languages. There's just no fucking way, dude. Like, you can't look at the origin of a word and say, and draw a straight linear connection, because words change their meaning all the time. Like, even in our lifetime, look at what the word goat meant when we were kids, right? It meant like a scapegoat, or like, you know, a fool, you know, like Charlie Brown when he goes to kick the football and that bitch lifts it up and he falls on his ass every time and he's like, oh, I'm such a goat, you know? But nowadays, if I call somebody a goat, you're the greatest of all time, right? Like Tom Brady's the GOAT, the quarterback, right? So even in just like a couple decades, that word's totally changed its meaning, you know? It's all about, in this time, the local time, you know, what meaning do we put behind that word? Because words are arbitrary, you know? And his whole thesis is based on tracing these words back thousands of years, you know? And I'm like, this is just nonsense. It's total nonsense, you know? And that's the entirety of the book. It's just very tortuous and brutal because it reads like you're taking an etymology 401 class, you know? Mm-hmm. And this is the textbook. Like, it's so brutal, man. I can't tell you how bad this book, and it's nonsense, you know? It doesn't make any sense. It's clearly bullshit. Like this, maybe he believed it. Maybe he was trying to sell a book. I don't know. But like, he's definitely wrong, you know, and that was the first indication that I got. And then I'm like doing a little bit more research, and it's like, yeah, dude, there's literally no other etymologists or theologian scholars that agree with him. They're like, yeah, that's a stretch, dude. Like you're off base on that one. And it's weird because there were, in early Christianity, there's plenty of consumption of entheogens, you know, like they were getting high, you know, and having God experiences,
there's
taking magic mushrooms,
thousands of psychoactive plants in nature. You know, we just focus on mushrooms and cannabis and ayahuasca, but in reality, there are thousands of mind-altering plants that humans have been interacting with for millennia.
Ergot, dude. Mm-hmm. Like, they were definitely taking ergot. The whole, like Moses going through the desert, right? What would they eat? They would eat the manna from heaven, mm-hmm. right? And it would like appear after the dew, you know, as like a white cloud. Let me pull up the quote, the passage, I should say. Scripture. Just gonna read some scripture on the Yim Yam.
Some scripture. It's a good time to preach.
Yeah, Exodus.
Preach
so
to
Moses,
me, brother.
Right?
I'm feeling elevated. I'm ready. Give me the good word right now.
A fine flake-like thing that appeared like frost on the ground. What does that sound like?
Hallelujah.
You know, it was probably like a ergot or something. You know, so they were just trekking through the desert for 40 years.
Maybe that was blow.
Just getting boasted off of this natural LSD. You know, talking to burning bushes and shit.
Yeah.
You know.
And to
talking about reaching the promised land someday. 40 years is a long time, dude. Like they must have been
what else
consuming something.
What else he doing out there? Yeah, right.
yeah. To me, that might have been ergot, right? And if for people that don't know, ergot is you can probably describe it better. You're more of a
it's a fungus
specialist
that grows on rye. And it's actually been responsible for, a lot of killing over, in Europe and stuff. People get ergot poisoning. It infects rye fields, and if it's eaten, whatever, in its raw form, it kills you. But the scientist who found LSD was actually deriving other things from ergot. He was looking for other medicinal things. I think he was trying to solve like migraines or some shit when he discovered LSD. Some totally other medical purpose.
Yeah, that would solve a migraine for sure.
It was actually LSD 25. It was like the 25th synthesis of arrogate LSD. The other thing that's cool about arrogate is if it falls in the right conditions, it actually grows a really cool mushroom.
There you go.
Bring up a picture of it here. Actually, I'm bringing a reference here. The arrogate mushroom.
Speak of the devil.
Yeah, check it out. It's pretty cool. Why not? Since we're doing visual aids. Ergot mushroom. It looks really crazy, actually.
Dude, you just lit up from the computer screen glow.
Blah, blah. Yeah, I know, right?
You look like a ghost now.
Woo!
It's funny.
Alright, share screen. Here you go. Check it out. Let's do this. Some ergot.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually seen. Oh, yeah.
So there's ergot on rye.
That
That's
is gross.
infected rye. And so here's the mushroom that it can become. which has got these crazy like
I guess
spiked
that
tops or
could
whatever.
be flaky.
But this is ergot.
Man, you'd
mushroom.
have to be real hungry. Tell you what.
You can eat.
You'd have to be in a
the
desert
mushroom.
for 4 years to eat that shit.
Look at the mushroom though. The mushroom's crazy looking. But yeah, so that's it.
Yeah,
on
it looks like
rye.
an alien.
It's just a fungus. But yeah, and I guess the mushroom is very rare. This arrogate mushroom is not a common mushroom by any means. I guess that's getting in the weeds there. But yeah, it's an interesting one. All right, I was trying to find. There's this one. It gets really purple. There's this one picture I remember seeing back in the day. This like crazy long purple arrogate mushroom. But anyway, yep, that's arrogate. Don't eat it if it's not the mushroom or in LSD form. Long story short.
Yeah. Yeah, just that's funny. Like, just stick to LSD, you guys.
Well, and it would be.
Hey, go up to search the words magic mushrooms Christianity.
I don't know.
And do an image search of it.
Okay.
This is the other kind of, I don't know, evidence, I suppose, to this wackadoodle theory.
Okay. Let's give it a
So there's these ancient like frescoes, fresco's a drink. A fresco, like a collage, like a painting in a cathedral. And a lot of them, not a lot, but there's a few, that depict like that one in the middle. It's like Adam and Eve and a Amanita muscaria.
Oh, this?
At the top, like right in the middle.
Oh, this thing? Yeah.
Like that's Adam and Eve, and that's a giant, like you can clear as day. It's definitely Amanita muscaria.
There's multiple mushrooms going on there. Yeah.
Did psychedelic mushrooms appear in medieval Christian art? Yeah. So a couple times, and then a couple more to the left of it, there's that stained glass one. That's probably my favorite. There's Jesus with like
Joe Rogan already talked about
a bunch of shrooms. Yeah, Joe talks about this shit all the time. It's very obvious though that Joe's not read the book. Like I just want a guest to go on and be like, have you fucking read it, dude? It's brutal. Like, guarantee you're not going to talk about this anymore.
This one's pretty bad. Oh wow, you can like look at highlighted parts of it. That's cool.
That is cool. Yeah, look at the horse on the right there. He's just got like a big old Amanita muscaria pouch thing going on there. He's got that's my favorite though, with the Jesus looking all weird.
How do you make this shit?
Like he looks high as shit. Yeah, tons of amanitas there on his horse, like he's bringing it. So, I don't know. They definitely took entheogens. I'm sure the early Christians did take magic mushrooms. Clearly we're pulling up these old, like medieval frescoes depicting that, right? Like it could have been.
Oh, look at this.
The forbidden fruit in the Garden of Adam and Eve, right? Because they take the fruit, they eat it, given to them by the snake devil, and they become kind of more aware, conscious, right? Like they realize they're naked, so they put on clothes, and like kind of raises their.
So this is the Last Supper,
bit, right?
This is the Last Supper, and look underneath. Look what's in their robes. Look at that. And somebody who had taken mushrooms.
It does look like mushrooms.
No, come on, dude. Look at that. And there's their feet. But somebody who does psychedelics would know how to put imagery. I mean, come on, dude. Look at that. It's got the cap and the stem.
Or the guy sucked at drawing robes, man. I
don't know.
No way,
dude. Look at that. I mean, come on, dude. I mean, why would you put that? And no, I mean, that's 100%. And then three of them are like that. I mean, if one looked like that, okay, he fucked up. But I mean, dude.
No, that's how he's drawing the robe. He only knows
how to draw. I know,
but
he's giving a little wink to like, hey.
So he just keeps doing it.
They're tripping. Oh, and look at this one.
Oh, there's your proof, dude.
Right,
so there's a cartoon like Jesus
and
is
this
psychedelic,
guy
and
is
he's
the one
like
that knows.
Just surrounded by shrooms. He looks so happy. This
is the dude that knows.
Yeah.
Is he the guy who wrote the book?
I took, look at this headline. I took hallucinogenic mushrooms and made billions off Bitcoin.
Hey, here he is again. Maybe there's something to it. Psychedelic evangelicals try to turn magic mushrooms into weird. Anyway, so here's another one. Is this a real painting? Look at that.
So
that one's trippy. Look at this. There's some cool ones here. Oh, look at that one.
Immediately, I'm thinking maybe this guy. All right, he's like
dude.
Sorry, Oxford guy
off, but look at this
studying the Dead Sea Scrolls. He writes this bullshit book. I'm thinking like maybe he's intelligence. Maybe he's like a CIA guy because he's kind of checking a lot of boxes of like either, it seems like he's trying to deliberately mislead people. He's from Oxford, academia, whatever, high ranking, whatever. So I'm looking up like John Marco Allegro, CIA, and I come across some articles that aren't really about him. They're more about this other guy called Gordon Wasson. And Gordon Wasson was a guy who he wrote like the first mainstream article about magic mushrooms. I believe it's in either Time or Life magazine, something like that. Back in the 50s, And he's the guy that kind of first popularized magic mushrooms in America, right? And as it turns out, this dude was full-blown CIA. If you recall from our JFK stuff, you remember the guy named George de Mohrenschildt? He was the Russian guy who was friends with Oswald, who he was also friends with Ruth Paine, I guess. And he got Oswald to live with Ruth Paine in Dallas. But anyways, a CIA guy, George de Mohrenschildt. He, when he shot himself, like the day before he was supposed to testify for the House Select Committee trials or whatever, they found his like notebook of contacts, right? And in that notebook, he had like George W. Bush's personal line, and right next to that, he also had Gordon Wasson's, right? So this researcher named Jan Irvin kind of went down the rabbit hole of like, why Gordon Wasson, the magic mushrooms dude who first published this article, is CIA. That's weird, right? I mean, that's strange. You wouldn't think that. And it turns out that like he was part of MK Ultra. He was funded by MK Ultra, by the CIA. And specifically, like they funded him a trip that he took to Mexico to go get a bunch of magic mushrooms for the CIA to study the effects of it, because they were trying to develop a mind control. It was called Subproject 58 of MK Ultra, which is nut. Like it seems like every other podcast we're talking about MK Ultra. Like, and I just kind of stumbled upon this, by reading this shitty book, You see, but so I'm going down the MK Ultra rabbit hole a little bit, and all right. So the guy that first started talking about magic mushrooms in the mainstream, in this Life magazine or whatever, why would he be doing that, And so I'm reading about Subproject 58, and it's talking about like the Grateful Dead might have been funded by the CIA to kind of create that hippie movement, to spread LSD everywhere so that CIA scientists could study the effects of these hallucinogens. Which I'm a huge Grateful Dead fan, and reading this was like, oh, no, say it ain't so, So I'm going down this rabbit hole. There's a 3-minute video on YouTube of Bob Weir talking about Bohemian Grove and how he's a member of Bohemian Grove. And that just, I almost couldn't handle it, dude. That's heartbreaking. So if people don't know, Bohemian Grove is like, I mean, just look into it. It's essentially this really high elite private club in California where the elites go and like burn a big effigy of an owl and do a lot of weird, what looks to be like ritual type shit, but it's a very private club that, you need to be connected to get into it. And do you want to listen to the video?
Can you see my screen right now? Can you see what my screen looks like right now?
What's that?
Can you see my screen right now, the way it looks?
Yeah, with the Jesus mushroom thing.
Did you see your camera on there? You can't. Can you see
my camera?
Yeah, you don't. Oh, because I have your camera over the head of Jesus, so it's your face. It's funny. You don't see that?
Oh, it doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like that for me, but that's funny.
Oh, because I should show you what's everything that's on my screen. Yeah, I'm just.
But yeah, so yeah, there's this 3-minute. If you just Google like Bob Weir Bohemian Grove, you can watch this video of him gushing over Bohemian Grove and talking about sitting down by a fireplace talking to this like old OSS guy, you know, some like general or some shit, you know, and it's just so conflicting with like your perception of an old hippie from the Grateful Dead. Like, you're fucking sitting down with a general at Bohemian Grove, like shooting the shit, you know, that doesn't make any sense, you know. So then I'm going down the rabbit hole of like, all right, maybe Jerry Garcia, CIA or whatever. And it turns out that one of Jerry Garcia's best friends, his father was one of the founders of the Tavistock Institute. Do you know what the Tavistock Institute was, Dan?
No, I do not know.
Okay, so the Tavistock Institute was founded back in the early 20th century by a bunch of psychologists, essentially, funded by the Rockefellers, funded by the Rothschilds. And it's essentially like a research, like an R&D arm of the CIA. And their whole thing was propaganda. Like, that's where Edward Bernays worked with them. Edward Bernays was the grandfather of propaganda. And
Fucker.
They were coming up with like World War II war posters and stuff like that. How do you influence mass, you know, the mass people? How do you brainwash large groups of people? And that's what the Tavistock Institute is. And like one of Jerry Garcia's best friends, his father, his name was Eric Trist. I forget the name of his son, but he was like really good friends with Jerry Garcia. Confirmed, like they got in a car wreck together in San Francisco, you know. I wanted it to not be true, man, but it looks like it's true. It looks like the Grateful Dead might have been CIA assets.
I mean, you know.
That's a tough pill to swallow, man. So then, you know, if they were, and then you look at like Jim Morrison's dad. Jim Morrison's dad was the admiral who concocted the Gulf of Tonkin incident that got us into Vietnam, you know? The Doors. His dad was an admiral. It's tough. I don't know. To me, it looks like the entire counterculture of the 60s and the whole psychedelic movement was concocted by the CIA and spread by the CIA. Whether these people were wittingly doing that, you know, probably not. Like, I don't think Jerry Garcia was a straight up CIA agent, you know.
He's compromised, as they say. You know, they
but
usually
maybe
fall,
an asset.
Well,
you know?
they fall to temptation.
Yeah.
You know, they're bribed in some way, or threatened. It's one of the two. Sometimes they get threatened into it.
It's I think that they just like.
I think they get threatened to have
people
their
close to them. You know.
I think they get threatened.
You're friends with
way.
a guy who's the grandson of whatever. Oh, fun fact. You know, so Edward Bernays, who we were just talking about, the Godfather of propaganda. His uncle was Sigmund Freud. You know, the father of psychology, right? And Edward Bernays' grand nephew started Netflix.
Interesting. Netflix. Huh?
Yeah, that is interesting, right? The guy that we call the Godfather of propaganda, his grand nephew started Netflix.
I mean, it's all linked. Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like it never stopped, you know. They had this Sub-Project 58, you know, they were trying to spread hallucinogens to the masses, and, you know, why would you assume that ever stopped, you know? I would imagine that the CIA and the Tavistock Institute probably still have a firm grip on any kind of countercultures. So, kind of a bummer, to be honest. Like, I read a shitty book, and then I went down this shitty rabbit hole that bummed me out because the Grateful Dead, who I love, might be CIA assets.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because actually I watch a lot of PBS, and it's a up and coming show. Anyway, I saw a preview for it tonight, and it's about this famous photographer that supposedly took between 1 million, 2 million photos. Anyway, he took mostly like photos for the counterculture and was blah 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 blah. But the show is about how it turned out at the end of his life they figured out he was actually working both sides. He was a CIA asset.
God damn it.
And he was and that was the thing. And then it was showing all these interviews of people like, I can't. And he was even like his kids like, I can't. My dad.
What?
Yeah, like my dad was really working for the feds. Like, and this whole time we thought he was this big revolutionary, taking all of these revolutionary photos and doing all this stuff. And yeah, he was playing both sides of the fence. Yeah. So there's a lot. I'm sure.
Well,
I'm saying there's probably more of that than we're probably willing to realize.
Yeah, and it's not like it stopped. So you got to think today, like, where is that? You know, what celebrities are?
Yeah, the stakes are even higher today, dude. Come on, there's more people to control. There's more people to propagandize than ever before, and there's more ways and more powerful technologies to do it than ever before. So you gotta admit, the shit is only stepped up. More. I mean, and look at people like Chappelle's breakdown and other celebrities that have are Russell Brand or other people that have waved the flag of like, Kanye. It's a fucking trap, like it's a evil fucking blood sucking entity that's trying to suck artists, creative force for the mass consumeristic societies, or whatever, to propagate that, and then they end up either killing off these artists through their career, or they suck them dry, or they take all their rights, or they somehow derail the artist at some point after they kind of extract the necessary things, and a lot of artists talk about too this,
once you've run your course, or if you maybe decide like, if they get hot to it, like if they figure it out that they're being used by the CIA.
That's what I'm saying. Once they start to push back, exactly. Once they start to push back, or they start to, like John Lennon's a great example. There is a good American Masters on him recently, and they're trying to deport him. They were doing this and that. I mean, he got in a real entanglement with like government spooks over him writing songs about anti-war and peace and shit. You know what I mean? So it clearly affects the establishment.
When he died was when he started speaking out against war. I think we mentioned this on the last one, but the doorman at that hotel, the doorman was
Dakota. That's where
part of the Bay of Pigs invasion. You don't get any more CIA connected than that. So I think it's funny that, like, looking back now, you look at all these figures that were murdered in like the 60s and 70s, or even in the 80s in John Lennon's case, and it's like all these anti-war people, they all got killed, Fred Hampton, John Lennon, JFK, RFK, MLK, they all got killed. And I was talking to my parents about this, who they don't believe like any conspiracies, and I'm like, don't you think it's kind of funny that like all these anti-war people got killed, like all of them,
Malcolm X,
and they actually Malcolm X, exactly, like, and they had just never thought of it. Like, it was so like, oh yeah, you're right, that is weird. Fuck yeah, it's weird. How did you guys not put this shit together? Because they didn't have the internet.
Well, or again, it's the pill of conditioning has worked, and that's where you see it working. The propagandizing that's going on. I hate to say it, I've witnessed it through my parents too. We see the effects of a lifetime of conditioning being swallowed and unquestioned. And there's a lot of that in the boomer generation. The boomer generation, I think,
it's on the news. So.
Well, I think the boomer generation was the first big experiment of that mass doping of like, let's see if we can get, a big group of people to kind of all adhere to a certain version of reality and really try to maintain it. And, it started in the 50s post-war, but then as the technology stepped up, as you see, every next generation, there's kind of a new level of the implementation of that. Our parents, they got first, radio, and then the first TV sets, and then movies, and then blah, 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 and then us video games, and blah, now virtual reality and internet and all that shit. But it all, in my mind, it funnels to that same kind of conditioning effect of like, we want people to be, it's very similar to what the church does. It conditions you to believe that the world is dangerous against you, you're a sinner, you're wrong, it's bad, it's a struggle, right? Versus living a life of like optimism and wonder and confidence that, we're all here to manifest and build some rad shit. if they can somehow keep you in a mass way, and especially, when the whole herd thing, if my neighbor's feeling concerned about this, then I should be too, type thing. And the technology is just like spreading that like in a cancerous fashion, more than ever before. Before it was through newspapers and books and word of mouth, and now it's like instantaneous through a little fucking few-inch screen on your hand, blasting you with the latest. I think I've brought it up many times. What's his name? That funny comedian Duncan Trussell, and he was like, there's some poor bastard somewhere meditating by a waterfall without a phone, completely unaware that he needs to be afraid or angry, and it's it's true, we're hooked into this version of reality through the technologies we're consuming, and it goes unquestioned.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Well, but I'm saying, and I think the boomer generation was the first generation to swallow it unquestioned. You know what I mean? Like, they're the ones that actually took it. They took it as a luxury.
They didn't know. They didn't have the internet.
And I'm saying it was always presented as a luxury, a TV set. It's a tool. It's a great thing. You get to watch fucking the guys dance on the shows, and it's a thing of privilege. And that's how, again, these things are always presented. It's this privilege thing, but really, there's a bigger motive to it, right? And that motive.
Do you think? Do you think we're more propagandized today than back then?
Are you kidding me? Because like I said, there's just more facets and channels to do so. Absolutely. Yeah. But
it's a double-edged sword, because you also have the option with the internet to like peel the onion layers back a little. Like it's for
more
them, they didn't have that. Like they had to go to a library or something and like pick out a Mark Lane book to learn about JFK.
That's what I'm saying.
Whereas me, just some schmuck, like I can just hop on Google or turn on a podcast.
Like I said,
it's more easy for me to try to get to the bottom of things, but we are also more easily propagandized. It's strange.
Well, and there's this effect that so think about the average human intake of a piece of, like, let's just call it substantial information, some sort of information that affects your life in some way, right? So think back 100 years ago, people living on their family's farm who've been there generation after generation, small town, whatever. The amount of life-changing information that came into your life was a relatively slow trickle. It was like, something would happen, or you go into town and you hear something, someone passed away or something changed. There was a storm and crops were wrecked or whatever, and these things came in kind of one at a time, right? And, now, and I feel that sometimes there's these days where it's bombardment. It's like one thing after another. You turn on the news, there's a shooting and this, and then a girl dumps me, and something happens with my mom, and it's just like fucking thing after thing. And so I think evolutionarily too, our brains are getting a little scrambled by like, how many of these, substantial bits of information can we really chew on at a time? And I think we're being pushed to the limits right now, frankly, because it's coming at us from so many angles. And that's where I personally feel like when I shut down, I feel so overwhelmed, where I look over here, it's shitty and dark, and I look over here and it's angry and cantankerous, and I look over here and it's violent and this, and then and I try to interject some like positivity and people shut it down, blah blah blah, and then it leads to
it's a lot to sort through,
and so it leads to static. Exactly, static. And that's how it feels. Like I just get washed over and I become numb, and that's where that fuck it feeling comes from, of like, bleh.
Right, you gotta go skate. You gotta go jump in an irrigation canal.
Right, because eventually
off a 10-foot fucking thing.
Right, the well starts running over, water spilling on the floor, and it's looking messy to my brain. I'm like, how do I put this back in?
I see that so clearly with when you have kids, right? They're growing up in a just totally different world, and I was talking to my wife about this. It's like when we were kids, like you were saying, you get like one piece of information and you can sort through it and process it really easily. It's like an 8-bit thing,
right?
And now it's like running a terabyte of just drinking from a faucet of information, and like another, obviously he's going to struggle with that. It's going to take him longer to process all of this information, and that's going to manifest from our perspective as him not maturing as quickly as we did. But that's not the case. He just has to process way more shit, way more information.
Well, and here's what's wild.
And I think every generation is like that with the next generation. They're like, why are, think of an 18-year-old back in like the 1800s. Right. They were already like moving out west with their wife and 2 kids. Because they had less shit to process. An 18-year-old now is like, wait, what? What am I doing with my, like I got to do this, I got to do that. Like, there's no way. He's not,
It's like where.
And so. you might look at that 18-year-old in the 1800s and be like, wow, look how mature they are, but that's not really the right word for it, you know? It's just
right.
that they
and
have
they were
less shit to
surviving.
process.
That was what they were focused on. Survive. I mean, every day was like, what
Yeah,
are we eating today?
Oregon
Where
Trail.
are we staying dry? You know, where are we not going to freeze our asses off? I mean, and that's what I'm saying. It was a different line of thinking altogether, where we're caught up in this abstract thinking. And what's really crazy too, you know, when you're saying that, like about your kid, here's what's really interesting too to look at on like an evolutionary scale. For the last 10,000 years, you know, and that's how long, you know, local indigenous people have been living in this area that they know, right, have been kind of living and thinking in that mode.
Maybe.
Well, right. Well, no. So they know. I mean, they know people have been inhabited this area for about 10,000 years. But the point is,
this area or North America?
The Coast Salish are dated back 10,000 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they've been here. Okay. Coast Salish tribes have been known to be living here for about 10,000 years. Anyway, the point being is they lived in what we were just describing, that kind of very survivalistic mode of reality. You know, things were like coming at you like, this is what you do next because it's kind of what you have to do. You got to seek shelter. You got to catch a fish. You got to make a fire. You got to do these things. And you weren't distracted by all of a sudden, oh, well, wait a minute. What about this? And what about this? And what about all this deep thought here? Right. So here's where I'm going with this. So human history did that type of thinking for about 9,800 years. And only in the last 200 years since first contact have we got into this like multifaceted, and then you shrink it even more. Yeah, just in the last 50 years, it's gone from people with this amount of factors and things to now all of a sudden people are in this like omnipresent state all the time. We're like, yeah, they're here in a room doing the thing that's in front of them, but their mind is also here, there, fucking everywhere, processing tomorrow, yesterday, 10 years from now.
We're not
right
made for that.
Well, I guess here's what I'm trying to point out is, so the dial cranked randomly in the last 200 years, and I think we're at an evolutionary test because there has been no like preparation stage. It kind of went from like one way that existed for a long fucking time to suddenly boom, we're cranking over into this like really intense now amount of factors in what you're going to be doing, and it's almost like evolution's giving us a test, like, can you hang humanity? Or are you going to burn out? Are you going to burn the fuck out? But I guess what I'm wondering is, I mean, really, I always kind of mark it around first contact between Europeans and indigenous societies is when that kind of like boom started to happen.
Explosion.
Because to me, that was when the technology of the new world integrated with the wisdom and the survivalistic tactics of the past to be able to make what is now. Because the Coast Salish describe, like, you know, they rescued Lewis and Clark from a storm when they were dying out here on Alki Point. They taught all the early Europeans how to survive in this climate because none of them knew how to fucking live through a Northwest winter. So if it wasn't for that aspect of it, they would have never been able to implement their technologies here, right? And build cities and whatever. Yeah. So it was key that they had to learn this from the indigenous inhabitants first. So that unionship, that collision of this like shipbuilding, modern weapon toting, you know, advanced culture meeting with this primal survival based culture led to cities in the modern last 200 years that we exploded into. So I guess what I'm wondering is, out loud,
is it a good thing though?
Or and beyond that, is it just an evolutionary cosmic fuck up car crash, or is there some intentionality arrangement behind what happened? You know, did somebody turn that dial up? Did somebody arrange the characters to meet that way to turn, you know, evolution into that, right? You know what I mean?
And like, who is that somebody? Is it aliens?
Right. Or again,
Roswell
or
crash?
is this just some cosmic thing that happened and it exploded, and for some reason it didn't happen for 10,000 years, and when it did happen, hey, here we all are talking about it now. Anyway,
I don't know.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah. You know, when you have like a bad day, it's funny. You go out and skate. You get out in nature. I think turn the screen off. You know, that helps. It's like I'm just gonna go back to like caveman mode.
Yeah, and I think there's
stop drinking from the faucet of information for a little bit, and that usually cheers people up.
Right. Well, I think it's a reminder too that everything we do is tied to that. You know, it's like the root of a tree. Yeah, you're looking at the you know, the tree and its branches above ground most of the part, but the reality is a whole half of that thing is living where you can't see it, and it's just as fundamental to the branches and the leaves and the fruit it bears if it wasn't for the root system and its interaction with soil, you know what I mean? And so a lot of our existence has to be seen as that, it's happening in that way too. We can't, I guess, always see the effect of it happening.
The force
right.
trees, yeah.
But that force, like the roots underneath it, giving it the rise is a part of it that I think when you recognize it, you can become more holistic with your integration to it, if that makes sense,
Yeah, like I said, it's a double-edged sword, and the effects of all this remains to be seen. It is disheartening to think that there's some clandestine, CIA that's kind of pulling the strings of our culture, but it's encouraging that we can now realize that.
Well, and what's even more, I guess,
that's good. It's better than not realizing it.
Yeah. Well, it helps me too.
Maybe that's how it's supposed to go. Maybe that's our evolutionary path. Is like, we collectively through the internet will realize like, oh, these fuckers are trying to, cause chaos and rule us. Well,
I was gonna say, and what really, for me, flips it back into optimism is just remember, like I said, that all it's. The grandizing and the tales and the videos make it seem like this big boogeyman, but it's like, that old Doug episode when he's too afraid to watch the monster movie and he goes and he sees the zipper on the costume and it's like, oh, it's just a bunch of cats stacked in a costume. Ah, ha, ha. I think Doug the same thing with these entities too.
Doug Funny.
Yeah, Doug Funny. There's a reference for you. But anyway, I think it's the same thing with these entities where they present themselves as big boogeymen, but at the end they think about it.
I think so
people
too.
In costumes. What is a person in a soldier outfit or a CIA outfit? It's a person that got up and put on that shirt in the morning and told themselves, I'm an agent, I'm a politician, I'm a what the fuck ever, I'm gonna go out. That's
general.
The point is they're an actor and an actress just like the rest of us. They're playing a part in reality that they're choosing for their own sake of feeling involved with the play, but it's a role. It's a role. They all are roles, and none of it are outside the.
Yeah, and they can't all be evil people too. I think about that sometimes. Of honestly, like this guy that Bob Weir's chatting it up on the OSS officer guy. He probably thinks he served his country and was a stand-up dude. Yeah, maybe he destabilized some African country for their bananas or whatever, but he's doing it for his country, right?
or the dividends that he stacked. I mean, there's always that. There's always personal.
Yeah, he's like, look at me, I'm in this bohemian club.
Dude, when has anyone ever
Bob fucking Weir
purely done something just for their country? There's always like either they're getting. The picture taken, or they're getting a check for saying it.
That's how they.
Yeah, nobody's just like, what?
But
it's such a great place. I'm just gonna go stand on the rooftops and shout about it. Like, fuck no. Like, they're always getting paid off to say that shit. 100%.
Yeah, for sure. But my point is like I don't think that everybody in the CIA is evil. I guess is what I'm saying. I think they're just kind of misguided and they don't really understand.
Dude, they're people.
The origins of the CIA and what the CIA has done.
Think about it. They're taking
over the years.
They take dumps in the morning and shit. They have shitty days. They get headaches. They get sick.
They put their pants on.
Yeah, they worry about stuff. They get bummed out. They get dumped by girls. You know what I mean? They're people. They're fucking people, man. They're at restaurants shoving their face with garbage. They're at home jacking off. They're like they're
let me tie this all
people.
together. So the first thing I said was, did you watch that Project Veritas video? Right?
No. What the fuck is Project Veritas?
It's an undercover guy who's filming this Pfizer executive talking about like how they use directed evolution to mutate the COVID virus so that they could make new vaccines and make like a cash cow.
Cash cow.
Yeah, it's pretty rough, dude. And I don't know. I was looking at it and I was like, this guy, he seems really young and kind of aloof, And they're trying to say he's like the Pfizer worldwide director of mRNA R&D research, research and development. I don't know. It smells kind of fishy to me. It doesn't seem quite legit. Why would such a young dude. Apparently he was like a physician. He was a urologist for like a year before he got this position at Pfizer. And he's like 2 or 3 steps removed from the CEO of Pfizer, It's just strange, man. And then, but You know, I don't know. Maybe it's legit. They said that they verified it through internal Pfizer documents or whatever. But you should watch it. This guy freaks out when he realizes that it's an undercover journalist. Like he tries to like smash the iPad. It turns into this like Jerry Springer show kind of thing. And the guy looks so scared of like, fuck, I'm gonna lose my job, you know.
Oh my god.
But you saying that, you know, that they are people at the end of the day just kind of made me think of that. It's interesting. You should watch
it. It's a high school
hallway. It's
hallway.
pretty heinous if it's true.
Dude, have you seen this documentary on PBS about Pegasus? Or you heard about Pegasus? I don't know if we talked about this yet.
No, I've never. What's Pegasus?
Dude. It was just speaking of like journalists and people and the fuckery of what's going on out there. It's this virus that's been showing up on all of these like everything from high-ranking politicians to journalists and basically anyone who has any kind of effect on the public.
A computer virus?
It's on their phone, and it literally allows for every single thing that shows up on their phone is recorded on this software. Every button they push, every text they send, even encrypted stuff like WhatsApp and all that. Basically, this virus allows full view, and it even allows their camera to be remote viewed and their microphone. And they had like, you know, one of those interviews with a guy in like a mask, and his voice changed. He used to work for like one of these, and he's like, he's like, we'd have a screen, we could literally turn on there and see them sitting there working on their computer.
Works for who?
So it's this group called NSO that they're trying to call out. So 17 news organizations around the world got together to like break this story, and they actually just like came to a head 6 months ago, and they had a committee with this guy, and they questioned him, and all the reporters stormed out because they were like, this is insulting our intelligence. It's pretty weird. So this NSL group is the
I'll watch the documentary.
Yeah, you should. It's on PBS. It's on Newsline. It's one of their Newsline specials, and it's a 2-part thing. So anyway, it all started with this list of 50,000 phone numbers got leaked, and it was this leak of like, this random program that was made by this company NSO, who makes basically surveillance software for governments, which is a known thing that they do. Leaked this list of these 50,000 numbers, and so this company in France started basically like. And the numbers didn't have any information attached to them. They didn't know why they were logged or why they were being followed. And so they basically started finding out who these numbers belonged to. Yeah, and it turned out it was journalists, it was politicians, and it was even people that had been like murdered, like journalists that had been murdered and shit like that. And so then they started getting to these people's phones, and they started doing forensics on the phones and finding this really buried Pegasus software running on all of these numbers that were on this list. And so basically they found out this list was like a hit list. This list was like a list of targeting who they're going to infect with Pegasus, basically, and then monitor and watch. And it's just like this surveillance thing that's happening. And so they know that this company NSO made the technology, and they kept cornering them and saying like, hey, like, who are you selling this to and why? And it's like totally unregulated, and they just keep like, oh no, our software isn't being used for anything wrongdoing, and we can't comment on our customers. Yeah, and they keep it, but then it ends up after this whole committee they had 6 months ago, all the CEO and people are like jumping ship from this company, and it's like going underground, and it's getting really weird. But all the governments too are denying their interaction with the company and where they got this Pegasus software and who's using it for what.
That's interesting.
But there's this one interview with this lady, and she was like an Iranian underground journalist who reported on a lot of heavy shit, and her life was in danger on the things she reported on, right? And so they like, her name was, or her number was on the list, and they got her
on it.
And they like got her to be a part of the documentary and said, hey, can we run a forensics on your phone and see if it has this Pegasus on it? And then she's like, and she was like oblivious, right? And they showed the whole her getting off the plane, and they brought her to a hotel, and they had this techie guy come in and plugged in her phone and ran the forensics, and then he explained to her what it meant. Dude, watching this woman just like, and she was like, oh my,
shit.
Well, because she's like, all of my contacts are in danger. She's like, the amount of people are in danger now. And she's like, holy fuck.
They have my browser.
And she was just like, the things, well, like and he's basically said to her, everything you've ever put through your phone from 2018 till now is logged by them, by shadow people. And she's just like,
yeah, we don't even know who.
We don't know, who or why they're using it.
I bet that we all have that, man. I bet we all have that on our phones.
Probably to some degree.
They have
but now they're proving it directly with this Pegasus investigation, and it's all these, like, again, it's politicians, it's journalists, it's all these interesting people, and they're like, why are they all being tracked and infected with it? And it's spooky, man. Doodaloo, doodaloo. And it's a thing that's rocking kind of the journalist world, because they're all talking about it like it's this spooky. They're like, we don't know who is infecting the phones with it, or even how. They're like, we don't even know how they're getting the virus in. It's not even through, like, you know,
the probably already
click
on there,
a link
man.
or whatever.
Like,
they don't
from the manufacturer. It's probably already on there.
Something.
You know?
Yeah, and so they're able to
just written in the code
through the forensics, and I guess it's really hard to find. You know, they have to
fascinating.
Yeah, it is. So check it out. Yeah,
it'll be okay though. It'll be okay.
And like I said, and this goes back to what we were saying. So then I think about who's doing all this. At the end of the day, it's all just monkey people doing shit, looking at each other, watching each other, you know, typing on their phones and this. Maybe,
what if it's not though? You know,
what if
at the highest levels? What if it's not? What if David Icke is right and it's a lizard people?
Let me throw this out there.
Maybe lizard people take dumps and put their pants on one leg at a time too. Though.
It might be the case. So get this. I do okay, and this is just I just smoked some weed, so I'm gonna lay it out there. I was watching PBS.
You got a hot lizard person take?
Pretty. I don't know what it was. Okay, so it was like the speaker for the president right now, and he was like, dude, it literally looked like another being.
Watch a lot of PBS.
Acting. Yeah, I like PBS. It's good shit. It's safe. It's safe TV. You know what I mean? It's comfort TV. So they had this dude who's like the Democratic spokes headpiece for the president or whatever, and he's like the total dude. It literally is like what you would imagine if an alien was trying to act like a person would be like. It looks like somebody like trying to be like, you know, the stereotypical things a person would be like, you know. And then it was weird at the end of his little rap, he like looked in the camera with this look of like, you know, for those who can like see what's in my, and his eyes like looked like vertical like cat eyes, and he just had this like glimmer, and then they like changed, and it like, but he had this like smug look of like, you know, for those of you who are like looking in my eyes, like, you know, you know. It was fucking weird. And it was because as he was talking the whole time, I was looking at his eyes, and they had this very like cosmic weirdness to them. You know, just like I was really reading his eyes and what was going on back there. And it was very like trickster-ish. It was very like, you know, there's something back here. And then he did this like hard look in the camera right at the last second. I'm just kind of like, you know, this like.
That's strange.
It was a very weird look.
Why would he do that?
It was a weird look. It was a weird look. And I was like, what the fuck? Dude, like you know, and it was all too, you know, the other impression I got.
Maybe I need to watch more PBS.
Dude, the other impression I got, it was a look of like, we're standing here right in front of you. You know, was that look like we're right in your face. You know, we're not up there.
Duper's delight.
We're literally. I'm talking to you right now.
Yeah,
like I was like,
Duper's delight.
So I wouldn't be surprised, dude. You know, just like a Men in Black when the faces fold up and there's little aliens driving.
There's a little alien dude in there, like just trying to.
That's what it seems like these people are like. They're like, I'm a human, right? You're buying this. You're buying this.
He probably thinks he's nailing it too. Like, dude, I'm acting so.
I know, right?
Like
they're chopping this
up.
Don't
even get it. Look at this. I'm gonna flash in my lizard eyes real quick at the end of this. They're not even gonna know because I've done such a bang up job.
Yeah, but that's like I said. That was the weird kind of like when I was really kind of like looking into it. I was like, whoa. That was strange, man. I don't know, man.
I watch my PBS.
Well, I got you to watch that documentary. That was cool. So, you know, that was good shit.
I'm gonna watch the Pegasus one too. I'll try to find it.
Yeah, it's on PBS's website. Just go. Here's a plug for you, PBS. It's on PBS, and it's the show Newsline, and then they got like a couple different series. There's a lot of actually good. You watch other Newsline. Okay. It's kind of like you know, like a 2020 or, you know, one of those other kind of like special investigative reportive shows.
Yeah,
but it's a good one.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if PBS is one of those, like, you know, they say like 6 companies own all the media or whatever.
Dude, it's run by lizard people for sure. I guarantee.
Yeah, probably. They just don't give a shit. They're like, here's what we're doing.
It's 100%.
What are you gonna do about it?
Reptilian owned and operated PBS, dude.
We'll give you some breadcrumbs, but you're never gonna put them all together.
Well, because like I said, it plays to that like person who likes to play it safe in society. You know, that person who like wants their nice, cushy, like this is good, level-headed news. You know, bipartisan. You know, that's where they get you. You know, they build that trust. You know, like you can try. You know, like
but it's all anything on like, you know, think about PBS, dude. Like I don't even think that's on cable, right? Isn't that one of the free ones?
It's Channel 9, dude.
Yeah, you can just get it like with rabbit ears.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
it's like running water. Just
it's not hard hitting journal. Like yeah,
it's not supposed to be. That's what I'm saying. It's safe.
Definitely controlled.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Drop my mic. All right, let's wrap it up. Gotta go to bed.
Oh, well, yeah, it's already 1:45 already. Well, yeah, any closing thoughts? We kind of zigged and zagged on that one. We touched some.
I'm bummed that
territory.
The Grateful Dead might be CIA, but you know what? It's not. I'm still gonna listen to the Grateful Dead. I love the Grateful Dead.
Oh, we didn't. We forgot to talk about. We were gonna do a little shout out to Jeremiah Green. Since we saw. One of his last shows and grew up in the same town and we went to the same high school.
The drummer from Modest Mouse passed away.
Like a month and a half after we saw him. Yeah, cancer.
It was quick because it was weird. It was like we went to see him, that show in Portland. And then it was like a week or 10 days later, he announced that he had cancer. I don't remember what kind of cancer it was. And then just like a couple weeks later, he was dead. Like it was really quick, super quick.
Yeah, I guess he had it for a while and just never said anything or whatever. And it was weird
How do you do concerts? With that like late stage.
That was probably the only thing.
What a beast!
Maybe kept him going.
Powered through it.
I was gonna say it's probably actually what kept him going maybe as long as it did. He probably would have died years ago if he maybe didn't have something like that. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't have a will to live like that, just give in to those things. But maybe the drumming gave him a couple extra years of life. I bet. And like I said, I mean,
if you want to hear some really good drumming, check out Chucker's Atlas.
Right. Dude, I got a couple of their. I got some of their vinyl. Actually, I got. Check it out. Haven't even opened one.
Yeah, I noticed you changed the vinyl in the background there.
You haven't noticed that they're different every time.
Yeah.
I've been collecting, but so yeah, I got these at one of his last shows. Building Nothing Out of Something, beautiful LP. I've been collecting records again. It's been nice, but this one's cool. How's that whole opens up? Shit, this has got some good songs on it. And then I still haven't taken out the shrink wrap. There it is. On the LP, cool. And I got this at their show in Vancouver. I don't know if I'm ever gonna open it, man. I don't know. It's kind of special. I mean, the fact that I got, I bought this a month.
Nah, don't open it. Yeah, don't open it.
Lonesome Crowded West, dude. Cool. There it is on LP. Yeah.
And that's what they played at the concert.
That was they played at beginning and end, and this has got some of their most and those are the towers from downtown Seattle, or the hotel in Seattle. Man, yeah, I know, that's wild. And I'll admit that show in Vancouver, man, I wish you could have been at that one. That one was way more badass than the Portland one, just because of the crowd was more into it. Yeah, it was. And I don't know, I feel like they played a kind of a harder, grungier set in Vancouver too, dude. I literally was like being in high school again. It was crazy, dude. It was just full on mosh pit scene, people just fucking getting it, and man, and it's just crazy. It's just
glad you didn't catch a shiner.
I did, actually did. I got a nice shiner. I came back with a big shiner.
Good for you.
Yeah. I got a shoulder right now. I know, I was proud of it. I had it for like 2 weeks, just a big fat shiner from it. But yeah, it's just wild, in a moment like that.
Shiner in the pit.
Yeah, you don't realize, like, man, like there's that human up there drumming for me is not even gonna be here in 6 weeks. It's crazy. It makes you stop and appreciate what's the fuck is going on, So I'm glad we got to do that, man. I'm glad you came out to Portland. Think it, dude, how bummed you would have been had you not made it out. So I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah, because, you don't know. He was a founding member. He helped write a lot of those songs.
Yeah, oh yeah, dude.
So who knows if they're going to keep touring or...
Yeah, I've wondered what they're going to do, how they're going to pick up without him or whatever, if they're going to go on hiatus. But
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, so I know you almost didn't make it because your family got sick and there was all that stuff. But like I said, the fact that, that's history now that you got to be there and that tour, the fact that they were playing their early albums. Yeah, the fact that they were playing that album at that time, dude. Right? Yeah. Doing their OG stuff. I'm glad, imagine if that had just been a show of their new crap or whatever. But the fact we got to hear Lonesome Crowded, like beginning to end. like pretty wild, dude.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when we were
Yeah,
coming
it
up
was definitely dope.
that stairs to Teeth Like God's Shoe Shine, I was just like, holy shit, they're really doing it. Like from beginning note, just oh yeah, you know. I was like, holy, I thought maybe
In order too.
That's what
they
I'm
played them
saying.
in order.
They did. They just played the album front to back, like OG.
I wish
shit.
more bands would do that.
I know, like that's
you know?
a treat.
Just pick an old album that
Yeah.
everybody loves.
Yeah.
You know, like if Metallica did like Ride the Lightning or something.
Well,
Just
that's why I've been
pick an old
loving
album that everybody loves. and
getting
just play it
LPs,
cover to cover,
getting LPs again. Is it forces that, and you get the appreciation. You know, that's really too beyond like the analog sound of LP warmth. That kind of ritual of putting on an album and listening to it front to back and no skipping around, flipping it over, you know, it really gives you that focus to take in the music, and I think in a really more appreciative way than when you're just like streaming it or have your playlist on shuffle or what the fuck ever, you know. So get a record player, start collecting again. Yeah.
Consume it the way it's meant to be consumed.
Yeah, and you get
especially
all the
for
cool
a band like that.
album art and stuff, and you know, I don't know, there's more to it, and yeah, I don't know. Going record shopping's been fun. I've been doing that lately, you know, going and digging out, and I got some OG shit now in the works. It's cool.
Support your local record store.
Yeah, I found some Johnny Cash.
If you don't, then they're not going to be around anymore.
I got a Boston record. I got some Roberta Flack. I got the Beach Boys. Dude, I've been getting all the cuts.
Ooh, little Pet Sounds.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Beach Boys were CIA. I'm gonna have to look that up now.
I got Dire Straits.
All right, cool. Good pod, dude.
Yeah, as you said, I know I was digging.
I don't know what our next topic's gonna be.
And I was like, I had this
We'll figure it
I
out.
had this on cassette when I was a kid, and I was digging through the crates the other day in Ballard.
Oh,
and
you
I
do
was
have Pet
like,
Sounds. Yeah, look at that.
I just got it like a week ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
fantastic record.
dude, right? And I had
love
it on
the
cassette when
Beach
I was a
Boys.
little kid, and I know when I was digging through the crates and I was like, oh my god, this will just be like listening. And it is. It's like when I was a kid, I'd be in bed with the old cassette player with the metal headphones, just like listening to Pet Sounds, and now got fucking. But yeah.
Beach Boys are underrated. I think a lot of people shit on them because they're more of like, you know.
Oh, dude, Brian
from
Wilson's
that era, like
genius, though.
like I like Led Zeppelin, fuck
Yeah.
the Beach Boys, you know, and I just think that that's a bad take. Like Beach Boys are excellent.
All musicians, true musicians, everyone pretty much credits Brian Wilson as being one of the most genius producers of his time. Like that man innovated some of the recording techniques that are still existing and using today. Like a lot of people don't know that about Brian Wilson, you know, the head of the Beach Boys, that he actually was a pioneer in the technology of recording and studio and production. He's a fucking genius, dude. And what he did behind the scenes for not only his own albums, but from albums all across rock and roll is like something he gets very little recognition for. But all true music historians always say, like, dude, he's the true pioneer of like most production techniques in that early era. Yeah. So we owe them a lot more than just their music.
Heavy on the production side of things.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna go listen to the Beach Boys before I go to bed.
Just listen to Good Vibrations and all that. It'll make sense. Just listen to the production skills on Good Vibrations. You're like, it's fucking genius, dude. The harmonies, the vocals,
it's definitely more
everything.
polished than any like Grateful Dead album.
It is. It's like right on, dude. It's like if we were to blast music to aliens, that's something we should present them with. Hit them with some Good Vibrations, you know.
I agree.
Because it's got it all. It's got the human harmonies, the bit, you know. I mean, oh man, yeah, that's a cut.
Oh yeah, we're masters of harmonizing.
Yeah. So, but all right, my man. Well,
good pod, man.
Yeah, let's stay in touch as always.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah. Episode number something number and something.